you're listening to the ThunderCast. Welcome to today's lightning episode where we dive into the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I'm in the studio with another Chris, equally intelligent and charismatic, Chris McGowan, CEO of ThunderLabs. Chris, welcome to the Lightning Show.
Well, thank you, Adam. Equally charismatic. I'll think about that, but thank you anyway. I'll take it.
We're taking a slight change of pace from our normal long-form interviews with some spectacular people in tech to dive into something that the ThunderLabs team is diving into, this incredible book by Chris Voss about negotiation. Now, Chris Voss, what a guy, the FBI's lead hostage negotiator for years. He's got people out of the most remarkable and dangerous situations. And of course, he's first to say that if you're negotiating with hostage takers, you don't split the difference. You don't say, oh, well, okay, you kill two hostages, but let us have the other two. FBI hostage negotiators need to get everything they want without losing anything at all. So why on earth are we reading that book in ThunderLabs? Chris, don't most people think the word negotiation is a dirty word?
Certainly by the book club that we ran today and then the feedback from it, you would think so. It's almost in the same category as sales, that people think if you're selling something, then it's sort of sleazy somehow. If you're negotiating something, it's that you're going to get what you want out of it. And I really like the distinction that it comes up with. It's negotiating is to an outcome, not necessarily for you to win, but an outcome. And that really landed with me because negotiating, as came up in the feed today, could be that I just don't think we're right for you. After you've done discovery and fact-finding, you should choose a different path. That's an outcome. We're not negotiating saying, well, give us half and you take half, back to the, don't split the difference. And I really like that. And something came up today with, is this a sales or negotiation motherhood statement of win-win? And I'm not sure that's a win for people because everybody's compromising and no one really gets what they want.
They give a fantastic example in the book, don't they? They say, imagine a married couple arguing about which shoes go with the outfit on the way out. Is it the brown shoes? Is it the black shoes? So they come to a win-win. They both get what they want and leave the house each wearing one brown shoe and one black shoe, the worst possible outcome.
I think it's a very good and modern look, Adam. I'm not sure.
So we've been talking about it with our team, the cybersecurity team, recruitment team, project development team. Everyone was in the room and really keen to get into this book. And one of the things we dived into deep is, why on earth did we invite clients to a book club about negotiation? Like, aren't we meant to keep this secret that everybody at ThunderLabs is learning negotiation? What did you take away from that conversation, Chris?
When someone's selling something to me, I want them to be empathetic to my needs, and I want to know that they are skillful in being empathetic. And if they happen to be trained in being empathetic, then fantastic.
Hang on, I thought we were talking about negotiation. What's all this about empathy?
Well, the concept is tactical empathy, so the ability to be empathetic to the person you're negotiating something with and put their needs, at least listen to their needs first before you put your needs forward, not have all your arguments levied. And I think it's a brand factor for me, for us. I think that I'm proud to know that our customers could be in the room and hear that we are empathetic to them, but also tactically we're there for a commercial reason, and that commercial reason can be, go a different path. I think by helping them navigate to outcomes with or without us, it's not bad for them to know that that's the core to our DNA. I also think it's just not. I mean, you've heard me talk about internal values and external values. What you do inside is what people see outside, and I think wonderful that they get to see the vulnerable side of people who, quite frankly, when they're selling things, sometimes have imposter syndromes, or negotiating something have imposter syndrome. We all do. In the same way as our customers, I think, when they're buying something, have imposter syndrome. It's like, well, what if this goes wrong? And that's something we hear very often.
I think that's a really good point. And that's one that really resonated with me from today, which is we're not so much negotiating with or against our clients, but so often for them. And the person who comes to us and says, look, we need to get our cybersecurity in order. We don't have threat detection in place. We need to make this happen. It's not a huge budget to make it happen, but right now the business doesn't want to spend any money at all. And this person, this CISO is often at their wit's end saying, I know this could break the company if it goes wrong, but I'm presenting to a board. They have a different set of priorities. Help me make this happen. And I'm always surprised at how often ThunderLabs as a technical and project and recruitment company is actually getting called in to help navigate an internal business case and do that negotiating for clients. So I'm very proud that our project managers, our team, even our techies are getting into negotiation because it's coming out every day on behalf of our clients, helping them bring around the naysayers or the people with competing priorities and making sure that the important stuff actually gets done. And I think it comes through most strongly in the recruitment team as well. I mean, the thing that makes the recruitment team so different is that we're never running Seek ads. We're not waiting for people to just show up because the number of people looking on Seek at any given time, it's such a small pool compared to where the real talent is. And we're often very happy in a job. And the team goes out and has to knock on a door of someone who's smart, capable, intelligent, and could already be quite happy where they are, and show them that they can be even happier if they come and work for our client instead. Now that's what I call negotiation skills, making that happen. What have you seen in the recruitment side, cyber side, the project side?
There's a couple of factors, I think, for consideration. I won't necessarily get into the debate about the search for happiness as opposed to the search for satisfaction, but that's a different.
Well, that's a good one.
Different podcast.
Different lightning talk.
I think I was really proud of something I saw in the business on the recruitment side this weekend, where the person decided, because of the empathy of the team, to stay in the role that they were in. Because it's not about convincing people to do anything. Actually, it's just about replaying what you're seeing and hearing and whether something is the right choice, the right path. Because good advice is really hard to come by. I certainly feel that in my previous businesses that good advice comes at a cost, and I'm not sure necessarily get the value. So I think this empathy theme replays, just as an example. It's not always about convincing people. It's just about making sure that if a customer's acquiring an individual, that they're aligned, and that empathy to the candidate is also applied to the client. It's about understanding what they really need from a hire. And I've got a scenario with someone that I've seen one of the recruiters dealing with recently, and the customer's terrified. They've made several bad decisions on hires, which has put them in the spotlight to the directors of this particular company, and they can't get it wrong. And so what they're looking for is for deep empathy to understand their position, but also make sure the person that we hire is right. So that's on the recruitment side. I'll come back to cyber. I actually don't think that we have a deeper knowledge base than anybody. I don't think necessarily, and I'll probably get shot for this by everybody.
Yeah, I'm loading this shotgun as we speak.
I don't know that knowledge alone is enough. It's the wisdom to do something with the knowledge that's important. It's the replaying of it in a story, and I just don't.
All right, I'm putting the shotgun away. That's a good point.
I don't want to get shot today. It was hard enough yesterday. So it's all well and good having knowledge and smart people and being sought out, but then it's also their empathy to say we can or we can't help you. And I really think that one of our superpowers here is the imagery that you and your team create actually strikes a chord with people. It tells a story, and that story isn't a story of widgets and any technical data. It's about often on the cyber side about safety. I'm thinking of another big program that we're delivering, and for the executive there, we're telling helping them tell the story, which our technical team's taking care of it. But what we're going to be doing with, I don't know if you even know this yet, but we're going to be helping them replay the story of the successes to maintain the funding and the sponsorship of the stakeholders. And that includes cyber. Cyber's only one facet. It's about this, truly living this expectation of putting the visionary leader at the center of the services we deliver. And I think it's a thing that people say, and even tactical empathy, someone could hear that and go, oh, well, that's a sales technique, but it actually isn't, because it's deeply helping people get what they want, and then working with people whose what they want is aligned with what you want, and saying no to those that aren't, or having them say no to you if it's not aligned with them. And I think it's a revelation. Look, I haven't said it yet, but if no one's ever read this book, Never Split the Difference, I recommend it. Adam put me onto it. I really recommend it. It sort of locked into place a few things for me that I've been articulating badly and or immaturely, and it's really helped. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, sure does. I'm just surprised in general going into the IT sector just how much negotiation happens day by day, and feel sorry for all those people who went into tech because they didn't want to talk to people. And actually, such a big part of the job is this negotiating. What comes up in the next sprint? What features do you build next? What's on the backlog? What deserves the budget? What deserves the time and attention? And of course, the thing that techies have in their advantage is that they're all curious people. And it's just that slight redirection of being curious, not just about the technology, but the business motivations and the rationales of other people that can get the right tech built. So why don't we talk a bit about what the book actually says? We're only 2 chapters into our book club, which means there's another lightning talk coming very soon to fill out the rest. Talked about mirroring, talked about assumptions and the danger of assumptions blinding you. What stood out for you from the book, Chris? What's one of the techniques that came out for you?
I really like that people ask you what's the process, in life, like make it academic. What's the exact steps I should follow to get?
What's the recipe?
Yeah, what's the recipe for A, B, and C? To get things done, it's A, B, C. And I like that there is no order to the recipe. Sometimes it's A first, and then D, and then Q, and then back to B, and then C. And it's the ability to have the presence of mind because you're listening, not making an argument, to what someone is actually saying, and then be able to jump around the recipe in the right order about how they get to an outcome. So
it's a good point. The traditional negotiating theory being about almost a set plays and a recipe of start high and negotiate down, splitting the difference until you get slightly more than the other guy got. And Chris Voss's point is the answer is not in that recipe. It's the unknown. So I think that's a great perspective, Chris.
It also makes me think of some of the people that we negotiate with, who are very bright, academically bright, and very smart, much smarter than I think I am. And it was an interesting point he made, Chris Voss, about when you're negotiating with someone who's very bright, they come in with lots of assumptions rather than the hypotheses. And try and say that when you've had a few hypotheses, and they would even ignore their instincts in favor of their cognitive biases. And I find that fascinating, because it is when it comes to certain engineers I've worked with in my past, obviously not ThunderLabs because everyone's amazing, but in my past, that's been a problem. Actually, people are so sure they're right that you can't convince them, and that's a moment to walk away. By the way, so there's a lesson. If you can't convince someone who's already made up their mind, and why should you? You probably can't even negotiate to an outcome. So I think that's encouraging for all of us that think that we've got a bit of an imposter syndrome and we're not an expert in the area. It's the ability to go, well, that's actually a strength. To think that they're smarter than me, and maybe they are, that's also a strength. And that inversion of thinking was quite fascinating to hear him articulate that out when he was, outpowered, this global expert, outpowered by these really bright academic people. And it wasn't a question of intellect, it was a question of empathy, but tactical empathy. So that leads into this one killer question, which is when someone asks you for something, how would you have me do that?
Chris, I've got your kids. I'm going to murder them unless you give me $1 million right now.
you know, I don't have $1 million here, so how would you have me do that?
That was almost verbatim one of the examples in the opening of the book, and it's fascinating. So much command and control, people trying to get what they want by demanding, and then just turning around and just asking, how do you want me to do that? How am I supposed to do that? How am I meant to make that happen?
Yeah. What were the big takeouts for you from the book? And we've talked about a few, and you know, I'm not trying to, you know, what's the word? Drag too much out of you if that, we've already covered it. But was there anything else that you thought of in relation to us, our customers?
I love, because I'm a total geek, I love going into behavioral economics, which is when the other nerds of the world in the psychology departments said, hey, you economists keep talking about people like they're rational and make good, sound, judgmental decisions, but obviously they don't. So what's actually driving people's decisions? And the real pioneers of behavioral economics, the team Kahneman and Tversky, won a Nobel Prize for their work in this state. They came up with a really good framing of how people make decisions, and they talk about system 1 and system 2 thinking in the brain, which is such a fascinating topic. I'm going to explain it for everyone. So system 1 is the intuitive part of the brain that always comes up first and gives you an answer. If I say, finish the sentence, fish and chips is already there. 1 + 1 it's just there. You always come up with a quick response to any situation or any question. Now, system 2 is what we think about when we think about thinking. It's the hard work of, I really got to weigh this up. So if I said, Chris, what's 64 times 82? The brain goes, oh my gosh, I don't know. Or which is the best vendor for cybersecurity out there? It's like, there's so many criteria to look through. That's not an impulse. But system 1 will always show up with a quick response first. And then what happens is system 2 tries to back up that first guess straight away. So what we need to do is understand the quick reactions that people are making, recognize when there's irrational influences on that, things like framing, anchoring, topics I could talk about for hours because they're so interesting, and recognize that people aren't really making rational decisions very often. The intent is always to make a rational decision. But I thought about when one of our clients comes to us and says, look, we need to implement this threat detection software in our business. And we say, why? You know, what's driving the decision? There's so much more than just getting the best threat detection software per dollar. That would be a rational price. Oh, that one's a bit cheaper, does a bit less, but per dollar, that's a good choice. What people are really doing is also evaluating, well, what's going to actually bring peace of mind to the organization? Which one is going to, which one's not going to make me look silly in front of my peers? Which one's not going to have embarrassments? Which one's going to make me look like a hero down the track? Which ones are other people going to pat me on the back for deciding to do? And which ones are they going to go, really? You went with that? Which ones are just going to be easier to get all those other people to say yes to? And there's so much more in that decision, because do people want the best software at the best price for their organization? Of course they do. Is that the only decider of which software gets in? Absolutely not. It's the dynamics of being in organizations run by humans that there's different levels of rational and irrational decision making. And this process of negotiating and understanding what's driving people in any given moment, and what's driving the people who then have to make the next decision, that's how we're able to get amazing things done. Like when we talk about heroic outcomes for our customers, it's because we're in there negotiating on their behalf to make sure the right thing gets done, not just the easiest thing or the one with the brightest brand that came to mind first in System 1.
Yeah, I like I picked up in a podcast recently, it's competence over prestige, you know, and understanding that distinction and what is the decision that you need to make. Is it one of competence or one of prestige? But
they're interesting when they get substituted for each other, right?
Prestige over competence, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, what's the right rational choice that's a little boring versus the choice that's going to get me invited with the board of directors onto their boat next time because it was such a spectacular decision that got us in the news. Sometimes confused.
There may or may not be something in the press about that today with some government minister in a bit of bother for meeting with people before making decisions. But anyway, that's in the news. Yeah, there's a lot in that. And I know you relate it to threat detection software, but you made me think this about decision and the need for consensus. And, if you read some of the McKinsey work written in the book, the Challenger Sale or whatever, I think it was a Challenger Sale, it's like an average of 6 executives to make a serious decision now. And people being afraid to make the decision solo through fear of reprisal or consequences. And, it's really interesting. It's actually, but again, another podcast on the sad state of leadership, but that's probably the human condition, not necessarily a lament on Australia or Australian leadership particularly. It's these, it's how do you navigate that? But I think,
that's what negotiation is, right? I mean, if you are surrounded by leaders you wished would take some leadership training, maybe you should take the negotiation training. Mm-hmm. That's changing what you can, accepting what you can't.
Mm-hmm. I believe you're going to be doing that, aren't you, Adam? Some negotiation training for all our customers.
Well, let's negotiate about that.
I think I'll take that as a yes.
So let's bring this to a close, Chris. Mm-hmm. So many Chris's. Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Excellent book. I'd highly recommend it. What do you think?
Again, I'll just replay this, that I think that locking in the phraseology that's mature versus I think some jargon that's crept into my mind and vocab for the way I explain things, I think has been fantastic for me. So I'm really enjoying it, yes. Looking forward to the next couple of chapters. But I'm also looking forward to see how it plays out for the team. If no one does a book club in their company, this isn't the first time I've done this. I reckon certainly these 3 or 4 companies it's been that I've been in, I've run them and it's been very valuable. And, credit to the one that you've chosen here, Adam. We already used it this morning, but not for an external communication, an internal communication about how we wanted to solve a particular problem. So I think, when you do something like a book club, no matter the topic, it's an opportunity to learn the same language, forge around principles of culture within a company. And I reckon Never Split the Difference is going to be a fantastic example of how to do that. Building on the one we did with Atomic Habits. Yeah, it's really nice.
Another great book.
Very good.
Chris, thanks so much for joining us in the studio today.
Cheers, buddy.
I'm Adam Long. You've been listening to the ThunderCast, charged up insights for people in tech. If you've enjoyed this episode, feel free to drop us a line and tell us what you've liked, or ask Chris for a copy of the book, or me to give you a summary over a coffee. I'd be more than happy to. And don't forget to check out the back catalogue for more insights. Jump on LinkedIn and follow us there. You won't be disappointed.